All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm already recording, and we got about another minute left, but we got more than enough people to start. Peter, I'm going to turn it over to you. Normally, I like someone to make introductions. So, Drew, maybe you want to introduce Peter, and then Peter can take it over.
Sure. Peter is a foreign guy. He's from, what country are you from, Peter? Sorry, I forget what.
The Netherlands.
Netherlands. That's it. It's just hitting me right now. Netherlands. Guys, I just want to apologize. I'm in my car. We were just at a dinner party, and I've got no good lighting or anything like that. But Peter's got a couple questions for our admins of PeakFundingPro, and Peter was one of the first people to join me on my team in Peak Funding. Peter's a very serious guy. You have a pretty big MLM background. I know one company you're in. We're not going to name any other names about any other companies because that's, the cool thing to do. But you're a pretty big scene in that other company. And, just kind of, I don't know too much about you. So just kind of maybe tell us, because I just met you basically, I think within the last 3 or 4 months, right? Like
Yes.
we just kind of talking. We've known each other online, but actually talking, weekly and stuff like that, maybe in the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. Well, I'm into internet marketing a few years now. We stopped because we now having kids in our house who are mentally disabled, so that takes a lot of time, and I had to stop internet marketing. But recently I started again. I got introduced to Drew by a friend of ours, and she knew Drew for a couple of years, and she told me he's a good guy. So I followed him in his program, Payout Pro. I see who he is. I see how he works. I like it. And then PeakFundingPro came along. I see the opportunity here. That's what I like. But this being a completely different from every other company I have been involved in. Well, obviously, I have some questions, and people I know who are on the fence right now, wanting to join, also have some questions. So here we are in this webinar, and for me it's 3 a.m. By the way. So I just got out of bed.
Congratulations. Well, before we get to the questions, which we definitely want to get everyone's questions answered, I know Bill has a kind of a map of the relationships. A lot of people that are new to this opportunity are, in their excitement to go out and promote it, some of the language they're using isn't actually accurate. And I want to be sure that all of the marketers and everyone on this webinar and everyone watching this after it's posted on the group, understand exactly what the product is and what we do as marketers and the relationships between the white labels and the clients and some of the services that we offer. Because the back office, if you've never seen our back office, the first time you log in, it can be a little confusing because there's 3 tabs there and there's 3 different paths for the user to take. So I want to turn it over to my business partner, my mentor, Mr. Bill Ebert, and Bill is going to share his map with it's kind of like a mind map that shows, here's the client, here's the white label partner, et cetera, et cetera. Without further ado, over to you, Sir Bill.
I think it'd be a good idea for me to show this, and then if this doesn't answer all your questions, then you can go ahead and we'll open it up for Q&A. So let me first share this. Got my screen. You guys see my screen okay?
Yep.
All right, so just a little bit of background. I was in the corporate build-out and development program. I helped individuals who had existing corporations or who wanted a corporation, and we build them out. And we had a way to take a brand new corporation or one that already existed and within 4 months get them some funding. So I was doing this for a while. I had some partners and we were building them out, and we were doing okay, but we were just doing the onesie twosies, and everybody was doing well. We have a build out company that helps us do this stuff, and they say that they guarantee a minimum of $50,000 at the end of 4 months. And it's pretty, there's a lot of stuff to do. It's simple, but there's a lot of stuff to do, and you have to do it right. And so I got involved in it, learned a lot about the corporate build-out program. I was introduced to a guy named George Wilson. And then George says, why don't we turn this into something, instead of having an individual step up and pay $20,000. Why don't we do this corporate share program? And he built out what we know today as what we're referring to as either the white labels or as the corporate share program, or depending on how it's presented to you, you can get in for as little as $200. We're going to change that so it's a minimum of $500, but you can get in as a shared corp. And then we started structuring, well, how do you do this so it's legal? Because we don't want any SEC violations. You know, I'm too old to be spending even one day in jail. I'm not doing the jail thing. You know, I've been a network marketing consultant for years, and I understand that it's not just what you say and how you do it, whether it's legal or not, it's how it's interpreted. So it's not only what you do, but how you interpret the story. So I'm going to show you the structure of the corporations and the businesses and who's relating to who and where the agreements lie and all that other stuff. And this is the story that we presented to a bunch of attorneys. And the attorney said, you know, we've never seen anything like this. You know, you guys are not making any SEC violations. You're not breaking any rules. And so let me show you how it works. So on the left-hand side, it's basically the categories of legal. So the customer, what the agreements are, what receivables are, what commissions look like, and then the tracking of the software. And so over here on the left-hand side, we're going to see who's accountable for and who's responsible for each part. So first, we have what we call the storyteller, the white label. Peak Funding is you guys. We have as many as 6 or 8 white labels. Most of them aren't doing anything. You know, somebody comes along and says, hey, I'd love to have a white label, and then they never pull the trigger. So you guys are doing really good. I think we closed out 2 corporations this week for you guys. So these are basically the storytellers. Now, the storytellers are responsible to tell the story right. Don't make crazy claims. 300% in 22 days. You know, just marketers go out there and they just say the dumbest stuff. You know, they just think you don't have to say anything that's outside the boundaries of reality. You don't have to do it. The money that the people are making here is extremely good. I mean, if you're doubling your money in 12 months, you're doing better than most investments that are out there. I mean, it's really good to be able to say, using the math and the structure that we have, being able to come in, be part of a corporation, and get twice the amount of money in 120 days. That's a pretty good story. So because they're storytellers and they're affiliate marketers, they're not investment brokers. They're not brokering for an investment. So let me show you how that works. These guys can go out there and sell whatever they want to sell. And even if they don't say it right, they're really not going to get in trouble because they're not actually taking any money. You guys are not being investors. You're not being brokers. What you're doing is you're getting a group of people together who want to own their own corporation. So it's basically like crowdfunding. You're getting a group of people together that can't afford $20,000, and they're going to crowdfund their own corporation. So the money gets gathered on the side of the white label. The white label gets enough people to say, yes, we want to do this as a group. We put all the money in an escrow. It's a trust account. So the trust account or the escrow company then spends the money to buy the first or set up the corporation. We get the first corporation set up, and this is the cool part. Now, at this point, everyone is relating to the new corporation. So it's all crowdfunded. The individuals now own their own corporation, and all the agreements to pay the person back, the agreements are with their new corporation. It's not with the storyteller. It's not with the escrow account. It's not with the people who are actually building out the program. We have 3 different vendors, including us internally, who are helping build the company out. The agreements, and this is where it's really nice for you guys to say, you know, this is legal because you're making an agreement with your own corporation. When it gets built out and when that first round of funding comes through, you have an agreement with your own company to pay you back double what you helped get it to funding. So the escrow part is taken care of by the escrow company. The pre-corporation is being built by the escrow company and paying for the services, and they spend the money through the individual corporation and its rules. They have rules in the corporation, and then after the corporation is built, there's a post-corporate agreement. And so you guys are signing an agreement with your own company. So you're basically making an agreement with yourselves to pay yourselves back based on how much money comes in. And then there's an operating agreement that's established. And in the operating agreement, we establish a chief director. And we haven't talked to most of you guys about chief director. So if some of you guys want to be chief directors of the company, we pay an additional bonus on top of that for helping us build out the corporation. But you don't have to do it. We actually have a list of people that are willing to help out with that. And the reason we do that is we're building this thing out completely legal. We're doing everything on the up and up. But what we don't want to do is have anything look fishy. We don't want it to look fishy, even if it's not. So we don't want to have 20, 30, 40, 50 corporations all being built out with the same director and the same address, right? So we're gonna pay the banks back. We have 100% upfront willingness to pay back the vendors, pay back the people, pay back the banks, all of their loan money. But one of the things we don't want to see is let's say we have an underwriter at Bank of America getting ready to do one of our loans, and they see 3 corporations come through the same week, and they have the same exact director and they have the same exact mailing address. It just doesn't look good to them. It's not that we're doing anything wrong. It's just we don't want to have red flags. We just don't want to have a reason to do that. So every corporation is set up with a different director. They're set up with different email addresses. They're set up with different physical addresses. And so that's where the chief director role comes in. Now, he's a hired consultant. He's not legally bound to any of the agreements. He's just hired to help us run this corporation. So he's getting a share or a piece of the corp for being able to do that. And then the corporation spends its money. All this money is its money. It pays out the commissions for everybody who helped get it to this phase. And then the money is escrowed through the escrow company. The operating agreement establishes what needs to be paid out. So we pay out the corporate build company, we pay out the corporate services company, and then we pay the funding guys for helping us get things, just lost my train of thought here. It's not the operating agreement, it's the business plan. So the people who are helping us do the funding, they build out the business plan. The corporate service company helps us build out a lot of little pieces. And then the corporate build out company makes sure that everything's legal, make sure all the papers are filed correctly, that they're all done in the right state, that the bank accounts are open. So we have 3 different external companies that are helping do that. And then my company is the software company that built the tracking software that does that. So I get a little bit of each corporation for helping build the software and making the connections between everybody. After it's all said and done, we then have the investment groups that the corporations will decide which investments, and it's going to change. Right now we have a pay it forward program, and we have the corporate stacking program. But eventually, I've told everybody it's not sustainable. No investment that you're doubling your money every 120 days is actually sustainable. You can't sustain that forever, because if you just do the math, you're going to own all the money in the world in just 7 years. You just can't do that. It's not sustainable. It's not realistic. So knowing that it's going to change, our investments are going to change. Right now, we got a good 6 months to a year of using our current investment strategy. So those investment groups and investment strategies are going to change as time moves on. And we have quite a few really good investments standing in the wings that are not quite as lucrative as the ones we're doing right now, but way more than what most people are getting for investment opportunities. Definitely enough to service the debt and get everybody paid. So that's the story. So let me tell you the math, just a little bit about the math. For those of you who are techie guys or math people, you understand that this corporate program works. If we get a minimum of $50,000, everybody gets paid back, and we have some money to start investing to service the debt. So that's all we have to get. Now, we can get $150,000, $350,000, $400,000 on these corporations, depending on how they're built out, whether we do it right or not. In other words, certain business plans get more money than others. So we just have to get 50. 60 is great. 70 is better. 70 is beautiful, because we can actually see in a very short amount of time that everybody not only gets paid back, but we service the debt with that extra $30,000 that we have to play with. So that's how the math works. We have to get at least 50 for everybody to be happy and to fulfill our initial agreements. So there's the story and the outlay. If you guys have questions about some other stuff like tracking and back office stuff, I can show you some of the back office and how we do that, and show you some of process for the other things. So you guys have any questions?
Peter?
Not really. It looked interesting.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's my understanding that if the company is created, the first goal is to pay everybody back. They're 100%. And after that, it's going to find investments for it to stand on its own. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. You talked about a business plan also.
Each corporation has to have a business plan for the banks for us to get higher business loans, sometimes we can get $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 with no business plan at all. Just on the fact that we have good credit and that we have opened up bank accounts and everything looks nice and clean and legal, we can get the first round of funding. But if we're going to go for the larger dollar amounts, they want to know what they're spending their money for. So business plans are part of that.
Okay, and are we will we be able to see them to participate in them, or how does it work?
Well, if you guys step up and own a whole corp, like if you step up and buy the whole thing, then we probably you might want to participate in that part. Now you're going to get to see all the documents. The moment that you get assigned a corporation and you're part of it, we're going to have a Google Drive where we have the articles of incorporation, all the business plans, all the paperwork, the filings, all this stuff is going to be in one drive, and you guys are going to have full access to that. So you guys are going to see everything as we move along. Now, to be able to make decisions and help, if you want to, and you own a bigger share, and you want to help and you want to learn that part of the business, we absolutely have a bunch of people that are stepping up and doing that.
Okay, and you talk about owning your own corporation. There's a 20K you have to put in. What other benefits are there besides the larger income if you have your own corporation?
Well, the biggest thing is you don't have a bunch of other people voting as to when the money comes in and goes out and where we invest it. So with you owning the whole thing, we'd actually lay out the investment strategies on the table, and you could say, I don't want to invest all that money. I want to put it in my pocket. I want to take all the money. I want to take that first $100,000 that we made and I want to keep it. And then I'll go do another corporation later. Or, if you're a part of a group, then you're going to get some money, but the group's going to decide what percentage of that we distribute versus reinvest.
Okay. And owning an own corporation, you own 40% of the shares. That's
yes.
Correct. Yes. And who owns the other 60%? Because the other then you don't have a majority of the shares. So.
Well, you're basically with as 40% owner, and we're actually going to change that. I'm not. I guess we're probably recording this, and I don't want to. Some of the things I'm hesitant to say because we put it out on a recording, and everybody's like, "But you said this on the recording." So one of the things we're going to do is give you a much bigger percentage moving forward of the corporation, so that you have not only voting shares but ownership shares that are over 50%. We're probably going to switch instead of 40-60. It's going to give you 60-40. So we just want to have a little bit of controlling shares so that we have some money to pay that director, the guy who's going to come in and help us, and that we have some operating monies for the companies that are helping build this thing out. So they get a little piece of the action. The way it was set up before was we were doing a 60-40, 40-60 because we wanted to be able to control the outcome. Well, if we're not controlling the outcome, but you're the major owner, you control the outcome, we're actually legally in a better state. You know what I'm saying? We personally, if you make a decision that's against our counsel and we don't get the kind of money we get, then that's on you. Right? So if we switched it around so that you feel more in control and then you don't take our advice, then that's your problem, not ours. So we're not really interested in the 60-40 where we need to own, where the management group needs to own the lion's share. We're probably going to switch it around pretty soon so that you guys own the lion's share, and as a group, you guys get to decide where the money is going instead of us deciding. Okay.
And maybe I'm ahead of your story, but last time you talked about there are only so much companies you can build. I look back in the history of Tom, and Tom talked about 100 corporations. Is that correct? And where are we now?
Yeah, we're at about 24, 25, 26, somewhere in that area. And we were shooting for 100 because at 100, we probably have enough to do and we have enough money, so we don't need to, I don't need $1 billion. I'm not trying to be the next president of the United States. So what do I need $1 billion for?
You have a good president now. So
we have to figure out a way. He messed with me by throwing that wrench in my head. So one of the things we want to do is we want to make sure that as a company that we handle the infrastructure and take care of our customers. So once we build these things out, we're going to have two different scenarios. Infrastructure-wise, we thought that 100 not only gives us enough money to build these things out, but the corporations are going to want to build new corporations. So let's say we get one and we build another one. Now we got another 100 corporations we have to build out to help these corporations stack their corporations. That's too much work for us to do if we're, in addition to that, taking on new corporations. What we'd rather do is take some of you guys and teach you what we do and franchise it and let you guys go off and do it. And then we don't, if we show you how it's done and introduce you to all of our vendors, or maybe teach some of you guys to build out some of your own vendors, because it's not rocket science. I mean, there's almost nothing that we do is really secret sauce. There's only one or two things that once you learn them, you're like, oh, that's not really that hard. Just most people aren't doing it. So I like the franchise model, because then you guys can run off and go do your own 100 corporations, and then just kick us back a little bit of money for teaching you how to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it for now. So thanks.
Okay. I want to make an announcement. I've had, I'm a full-time 17-year professional marketer, and, I'm connected to a lot of marketers. And I had some people raise their hand and say, Tom, what do you think about a 2-tier? It was actually the suggestion was made to me. It hadn't dawned on me before the suggestion was made to me. And so we've decided that we're going to move to a 2-tier. Right now, as a marketer, if you go out and you promote this thing and someone comes on and they decide they want to get a stake in a corporation, you get 30% of whatever they spend. Moving forward, and before we cut over, we're going to make an announcement. We're going to set a date. We're going to make an announcement, and then everybody that's in now is going to remain under the agreement that they're under now until the cutover date. So you'll have plenty of time to prepare. But on the cutover date, we're moving to 25% on tier 1 and 5% on tier 2, which means that if you sell a full corporation, you're going to get 25% of that sale. Or in this case, $5,000 on a $20,000 corporation. And then any marketing partners that you personally refer that come into this thing, you're going to get 5% on their frontline sales. Now, that 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but it will add up as you go out there and promote this, and as this grass fire continues to swell. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Peak Funding has been getting a lot of traction in the marketplace, and a lot of activity and a lot of people. I wake up typically to about 30 to 40 private messages, most of those people asking me questions about Peak Funding, and most of those people connected to Drew Burton. Thank you very much, Drew. So I hope that's exciting for you guys, because it in the short term, it puts a little less money in your pocket on your personal efforts. But all of us got into this game called network and affiliate marketing so we could leverage the efforts of others. And I wanted to put that aspect into the program. So we will be cutting over. We'll be making an announcement in the group. We'll probably have a live Zoom to launch it and all that. So you'll have plenty of notice, but just be prepared for that. And I hope that you find that exciting. Also, we said that commissions were going out, and everybody will have an e-check in your inbox before the weekend is over. I know I said Friday. Forgive me. This is my first run with this new group, and I've had a little bit more to prepare for than I expected, because we've had so many people sending in wires, and we're having to track all of that. And we've had a couple challenges chasing some people down. I told you guys in the group last week, somebody walked into Bank of America and just made a counter credit, and we don't know who that person is, and we have no way to reach out to that person except through the group. So some issues like that have happened, but all of the commissions will be paid. By Monday, you'll be able to you'll have two choices. You'll either be able to deposit that check, because it's your money, you earned it, and we're paying it out. Many of you, the visionaries here on the group, want to take that money, the commissions that they earn, and then you want to get more stakes in corporations. If that's the case, Bill, tell them what they have to do.
If that's the case, instead of cashing your check, go ahead in the back office and set up a new application or a new agreement for a new piece for the dollar amount that your check is. And then in the notes, go ahead and void out the check, write void across the top, send it over to Tom or to one of us on the tech team, and say this is for the payment of contract number, whatever your contract is. And then you get paid and credited for that. Did we ever talk about how these guys can get more money using the banks, other people's money to get corporations? Did we talk about personal funding and credit repair?
We've never had that conversation because a lot of the people in this group currently through Drew Burton are international people, and the personal funding doesn't really apply. That said, as an affiliate marketer, you certainly can refer people in for credit repair. You certainly can refer people in for personal funding. And when we say personal funding, we mean funding that is tied to your credit score, your FICO score. Bill, why don't you elaborate a little bit about that?
So one of the things that we do, one of the foundations of our company is we take people who have bad credit and we get them good credit. You know, we can clean up your credit score. One of the things that we do is even if you can't afford that, we pay for it for you, and then you pay us on the back end, which is what we call the Pay It Forward program. So if you have a bad credit score and you're in the U.S., we can get your credit score up to where you can get funded. And then once the money comes through, $100,000, $200,000, you take a piece of that money and you pay for your fees and you pay the person who, you know, whatever hard money investor paid for your credit repair and got you up to speed. And then you have the rest of the money to put into a corporation or to put it into the Pay It Forward program, whatever you want to do. So if you're interested in the Pay It Forward program, or if you're interested in credit repair, just go back here to that credit repair button, watch the video. We have hundreds of thousands of dollars in queue right now to pay for your credit repair if you need it. If you already have good credit, then you don't have to. We'll go straight into funding. We can have $100,000, $200,000 in your bank in 4 days. I mean, we're actually really good at it, and we can get you some money. And now you're not using your own personal funds for this. You're using unsecured loans to build out your corporations. So let us know if you're interested. All that information that you need is back here under the credit repair bundle.
Okay, so to be clear again, on the personal funding, you have to be a U.S. resident, but you don't have to be a U.S. resident to refer U.S. residents and earn money when they go into funding. Bill, you want to tell them what they make on the credit repair and on the personal funding?
On the personal funding, you're going to make, we have 2 tiers on the personal funding. It's 1% and 0.67 of 1% for the second tier for the people who go through personal funding. And that's a pretty nice little extra bonus and paycheck for you. Plus, as a person goes through the corporate funding program, we also have 2 tiers on that. There's actually $500 paid out on that. So there's $300 on tier 1 and $200 on tier 2. So it's just extra money for you just for helping people get along. Now, the corporate or the credit repair, $300 is not a lot of money, but that's really not the goal. The goal is to get as many people as you can through that, because the real money is going to come from, you're going to get paid on the financing, and then you're going to get paid on the corporation. So even though that $300 doesn't seem like a lot, I would suggest it to people because you get $300 there. Once their funding is done, we don't pay the money on the credit repair until they actually fulfill their agreement, which is they go all the way through, they get funded, and they pay us back. So there's $300 there, 1% on the loan, and then 25% on the corporate. So it's pretty nice. It's 30 days away, 45 days away. You're not going to get paid today on somebody that goes through credit repair, but it's a nice little investment in your future, in next month's paycheck.
Awesome. Also, we're going to be putting more tracking. Bill's working on this software is always in a state of flux, just so you know. When we launched the corporate program, we had the software built for personal funding, but we were in the process of modifying it for the corporate funding. So to some extent, because we got so much momentum, so many people interested, to some extent, it's almost like we jumped off a cliff, and while we're hurling to the ground, we started building wings. The software is still being built. It's always in a state of flux. I'm always constantly asking Bill to add this. Can we do this? Well, the answer to can we is always yes. The true answer is at how much time and at what expense. So we're going to be putting better tracking in the back office for everybody, especially once we move to the 2-tier model. On the 2-tier model, you're going to want to be able to see your people. You're going to be able to see your genealogy of who's on level 1 and who's on level 2 and what amount is owed. All that stuff is coming. Please be patient. Right now, we're massaging a lot of data manually, and we're doing our best to automate as many things as possible to get this thing as simple to run as possible, so we can take on as many corps as possible before we start to hit that critical mass. Also, I just wanted to explain, for those of you that are international, when we talk about personal funding, when we talk about credit repair, if your eyes gloss over and your only interest is that you love the opportunity to double your money, that is totally cool. Run with that. That's where all the heat and all the sizzle is, and that's where all the momentum is right now. Now, just so you guys understand, just to be super clear, the Pay It Forward program is how we double the money in 120, well, two ways. You know, obviously we're starting new corporations, and when the corporations get funded, we're doubling the money. But also we're using this hard money lending program to get people's credit repaired, right? We spend $2,500 to get someone's credit repaired. They accept that money in the context that once their credit is up to snuff, they're going to go into funding, and when they get funded, they're going to pay back that $2,500. They're going to pay it double, so they're going to pay $5,000 back. So that is our current program. So it's an internal program that we have, really, that no one else has. So look, there are a lot of Ponzi's out there. There are a lot of scams out there. There are a lot of smoke and mirror websites out there. There are so many companies that are making crazy claims where you can compound your money or earn a daily percentage, and most of them are scams. You can't find the company owners. The company owners, you can't even get their name, let alone connect with them on Facebook and social media. So those of you that are international, that are here because you just love that, the ability to double your money in 120 days, run with that. If you want to know more about personal funding, there's a video in the back office. Remember, those 4 green buttons up top are what you need to click. Every time you click a button, your dashboard changes. When you log into Peak Funding, the default dashboard is corporate funding, and that's where all the sizzle is. So I hope that clears some things up. Drew, I know we have questions in chat. Do you want to run through those with me?
Yeah, actually, I've got a couple of questions here from members that I see. One was asking about PIF. Okay, so PIF is basically the Pay It Forward, I believe so Pay It Forward. So that's covered. You guys covered that. And I have a bunch of people asking about BTC deposits. Tom, I know last week you mentioned that was, you said you were going to do it last week. You've been doing it all week, hardcore, I'm guessing. Yeah. Busy all day doing that kind of stuff. You're doing that manually, and maybe if you could just talk a little bit about that you're doing it manually. It's not something that's going to happen in 10 seconds, right?
Well, we're not going to make it an option in the back office. The biggest reason is because Bitcoin's up and down, right? If somebody drops us a payment at 3 a.m. and I don't see it until 9:30 in the morning, Bitcoin could have dropped so much that now we're in a deficit. So what I like to do is I want people to manually reach out. First of all, the minimum on Bitcoin is going to be 500 starting, today. I've made some exceptions, but I won't be making exceptions. Then over and above that, I'm asking everybody to include $30 over and above whatever amount they want to send. And this is really key, is a lot of, because depending on what network, like I use Prev.com to look at the price of Bitcoin. Some people use Binance. Some people use Coinbase. So depending on where you go, you're going to get a different rate. It's going to be close, but you get a different rate minute to minute. And so I ask the people to reach out to me first, let me know when they're going to send. I ask them to use Prev, so we both have a clear picture of what the current rate of Bitcoin is. And then when they send it, I move it over to Bill just as fast as possible. Now, there have been some instances where, when I move it over, Bill's not awake. And so we've had to eat it a couple times, and, that's fine. That's in the past. But moving forward, we're going to do our best to stay on top of that. Remember, that's just a benefit. It's a lot of people are coming to us with the expectation that we have to move mountains to accommodate them. And we're massaging so much data. We are so busy, 16 hours a day, that we look at it as a benefit that we're offering to people because we want, I love Bitcoin. And I know a lot of you guys love Bitcoin, especially people in emerging markets or third world countries. It's a beautiful thing that gives them abilities and freedoms that they didn't have before. So we're trying to incorporate it, but we're not going to make it an option in the back office for that reason.
Okay, and then I have one more question here. Last week you mentioned about a minimum deposit, so they add funds to the website. For those people that add funds and don't do the loan, you're going to move it up to $500 or $1,000. Is there a set date on that? They're wondering.
Yeah, we haven't set the date, but we will be making the announcement. I'm cool with making it that now. It really comes down to how fast Bill can get it implemented in the back office. Maybe you can answer that, Bill.
I think we should wait a week because we want to do the 2-tier and the new price point at the same time.
Cool. What else?
Okay. Yeah, I've got one more question. This is actually from me. One day, eventually, I would like to own something like Peak Funding. So maybe I was thinking next webinar we do, can we talk about that? Like, how can someone go and have a joint venture with you guys to do this? I know Bill kind of talked, he talked about that a little bit, but I've had a couple people ask me about that. So I was wondering if we could do a webinar on that, because I think that would be a good thing for the future.
Well, what I do want to do is I would like to have 5 or 10 people franchise, or actually, so they start off with their own white label and eventually learn everything that we do and take off and go do this yourself. We really don't want to do a webinar because we don't want a bunch of tire kickers, just the people who are serious that want to step up. It's a minimum of $5,000 just for all the work that we would have to do just to train you. So if someone's got $5,000 and they see the benefit of having more of the share of every single person in their entire downline and eventually building out 100 corporations themselves, I think it's the cheapest, crazy good investment on the planet. So if you're willing to do that and you want to wait a couple months until we're ready to launch that, we can start talking right away, and we can start including you on the training as we're building these things out. So if you're interested, or anybody on the call that's interested, just reach out to us. We'll set up some times to talk. We probably won't, pull the trigger on it for at least a month, but we can start talking and start training you guys.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I want to focus on building out Peak Funding and such, but in the near future, maybe 5-6 months down the road, that'd probably be a plan. I know it's on a lot of people's minds that have joined Peak Funding. I think I've had about 5 people ask me about that. So that's basically it from me, guys. That's all the questions that I had for members here. I'm just going to jump in chat here really quick. Tom, I don't know if you want to say anything real quick while I just jump in the chat and just look at the questions they had in chat.
I'm a Sagittarius. I like long walks on the beach. I just want to thank everybody. Everybody's been so positive in the group, and everybody has been really, really seriously hustling. And, if you IM'd me and I didn't respond right away, I apologize again. My IM stream is on the average 50 or 60 IMs of when I open it up, just all bold black people with questions, right? So I try to get to everybody, but if I missed you, I apologize. And if there's no further questions, Drew, I'm ready to wrap it up unless you got something else.
I have one.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
I have one question from a marketer who asked me if we get referrals and they join, they had a 4-month period, 4 months, and then they double their money, and then they invest again are they still our referrals? We will still get the commissions.
Yes, you never lose them.
All right, thank you.
But let's just to be clear, it's not an investment.
No, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a question here from Gord. He's funded into the system, and we met him last webinar we did, and he's asking about the process of updates in the back office. Like, it says that it's pending, and then you make your payment, all that kind of stuff. What's the process with that?
Let me tell you our current structure. So every corporation that closes out by Tuesday, so every Tuesday is our closeout day. Then we go ahead and we build out the corporations and pay everybody by Friday. So commissions go out on Friday. And except for yesterday, we'll make sure that before midnight on Friday, everybody gets paid. But like Tom says, this is the first time we're tracking all these things manually with this group. So Friday, everybody gets paid. Within 3 business days, everyone will get a notification as to what your corporation name is, what you've been assigned to, and then give you a link to the Google Drive so that you can actually look at the corporations. And then as we start dropping documents in there, you can set up notification rules, or you can check it on a regular basis. So 7 days to get notified, somewhere around there, 7 days to get notified as to what the name of the corporation is and get you your link and your information. And then the next 14 days is crazy. We get a website, we get 411, we get Google listing, whole lot. There's like 20, 30 different things that start happening. And you can either pay attention or not. I mean, you can just show up on our update calls. We're also going to be sending out once a month or twice a month. We're going to be sending out update calls to let you guys come in and ask questions. You know, it's a real learning experience for you. So, you know, we're not hiding anything from you. Like I said, there's no real secret sauce. So you'll actually get notified when we do updates. And if you have any questions, you want to learn about the process, any one of the members of any of the corporations can just ask questions. How are you doing this? Or why does this work this way? We love to have those calls to keep you guys updated.
Okay. Awesome. So Gord, he bought a full corporation. He spent the $20K, bought a full corporation. And so you're saying basically it would pend on your end, and you'd manually go in there and make the change to his back office, so he would see that it's been paid and all that kind of stuff within 7 to 14 days.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that answers his question. That's about it. Here, I see John is saying he wants to sell his kidney so he can put some money into this thing.
Wow. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
All right. So also with I do want to get with you, because I have been the one messaging you on Facebook Messenger about things, but I want to talk to you about the PIF system, but I'll do that at another time. But I have a question about a program that's called Zelle. And when I was asking people about it, it's like nobody really knew what Zelle was. Zelle supposedly is a program that you can use through a bank. I think Bank of America has it. I know Wells Fargo, my bank, has it. And all you do is you use it as like a payment system. Like if I wanted to send you $1,000, I would use Zelle by signing up and accepting the terms and conditions, which is just probably like don't do any legal stuff. And then you could just send it right to that person's account. So it actually goes into that account immediately. It's not like there's a wait time for it, because I know that. And the reason why I found out about it is that my wife actually sends her daughter money through this same thing. I know that Bank of America has it. And they just send money. She'll send money to my daughter's account just like that. So it's there instantaneously, like within a couple of minutes or so. So I was wondering, and I know it's for U.S. people only. It's not available, you know, anywhere else that I know of, but I know it's for U.S. residents only. Can we implement that? Or because right now I have $200 that I just started, I sent to you guys in Zelle. But I think until you guys accept it and accept the terms and conditions, that it won't register. It'll just sit there, and then after 14 days, it'll be returned to me. You understand what I'm saying? So instead of doing the wire, I thought it was better to do that, but I didn't really talk to you guys before I did it.
Yeah.
So you guys know, just as an internal thing, what we decided to do is we'll take money with an e-check. So anybody who has a checking account can fill out the e-check form. It's super simple, 0 fees, easy to do. It's actually just as easy as Zelle. Option number 2 is Bankwire. We have Zelle. I use Zelle all the time.
Okay.
I probably use it at least once or twice a day for other things. The other option is Bankwire, which is expensive, $15 to $45, and then the new option is Bitcoin. Now we're working on a way to pay out through Zelle, so that when your commissions come due, we can pay you through Zelle, we can pay you through an e-check, we can pay you through PayPal. So we're looking at those options to pay out. We don't want to take Zelle coming in because of the legal implications. Because there is the possibility that because we're taking money through Zelle, we just don't want to go through all, you know how banks are. Banks think they own your money. Banks the new Gestapo. You know, we just would rather not take money through a bank. And, you know, if somebody argues, hey, look, this stipulation or that stipulation, and we didn't read the 300 pages of terms and conditions, and they get a refund, and we've already paid out not only the corporation, but you guys in commissions, we don't have time for that.
Okay. Okay, so I could just send it as through a wire. So I guess I just need to stop the transaction and just send it as a wire, correct? Or what's an e-check? I've never heard of an e-check. How do you? Yeah,
you just fill out a check in your back office. You just put in your routing number and your account number and fill out the dollar amount, and we just draft your account for $200.
Okay, I might need an instruction video for that one. I'm not sure if I know where to find that. How that works.
It's on the application.
Anybody else know how to do it?
Yeah, there's a video. There's a video back there, and it's pretty simple. It'll pre-fill in the check when you go to fill out your application. It'll actually give you a link to fill it out.
Okay, all right.
And Canadians, no, we can't take Canadian e-checks. Somebody just asked.
Okay, but I will be in touch with you, Tom, about that the credit deal.
Cool, man.
PIF. Okay.
All right. Well,
I
think we've run long enough. I want to thank Drew. I want to thank Peter. I want to thank Bill. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. We don't grow without your support, without your efforts. So I appreciate all the work that everyone's doing. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy lives to sit on a 45-minute webinar with us. We're going to keep swinging for the fences. There's going to be lots of updates on the Facebook group. And we're going to be doing these webinars probably even more regularly as things grow. So appreciate everyone's time. I'm going to close this one out. God bless everyone.